Okay, this is what pickled mustard greens look like, and this is a jar that my mom made, and she gave it to me about a week ago, and they're just delicious. So we are going to make our own. So let's go outside and pick some mustard greens, and we'll go through the process and make this together. It's not going to be as good as what my mom made because she's been doing this for many years, and I just learned how to do this, so we'll just go ahead and learn it and do it together. Okay, here are my mustard greens. I should have picked these 2 days ago because yesterday we had a hailstorm, and look at this, it damaged these beautiful leaves, and now I'm gonna have to cut some of these parts out. But man, it is just crazy. Yesterday we had a ton of hail. They're pretty large, and it damaged a bunch of my plants, like these over here as well. See those holes? And of course these mustard greens have holes in them now. So we're gonna cut these, we're gonna rinse them up, wash them out nicely. There's not too much dirt in here because we're growing it in hydroponic, but you want the mustard greens nice and clean. And then we're gonna leave it in the kitchen counter to dry overnight, sort of like to remove a lot of the excess water. That way it could be really crunchy when you pickle these. So that's pretty important. So let them air dry overnight and wilt a little bit. So let's go ahead and cut these. Okay, look at how beautiful these greens are. Really nice and healthy. And that's the beauty of hydroponic. You can just pull it out like this. And then we're going to cut the bottom here. Look at that. Beautiful mustard greens, nice and healthy. Very little damage except from the hail. And you want the top of mustard greens to have these thick, juicy stems here. And these will make excellent pickle, and they're nice and crunchy. And those are my favorite part. So let me go ahead and cut the rest of them. Okay, now we're gonna wash them up, make sure they're nice and clean. Remove all the bugs if there are any. And then we're gonna let this dry on the counter. Okay, the mustard is all nice and clean now, and I'm going to let them sit on my table at room temperature. We want the water to be dried up and also allow the mustard to release excess water and wilt a little bit, and that will help with the pickling process to keep it nice and crunchy. So they may sit here maybe a day or two, and we'll be back soon and check on these. Okay, the greens are now nice and wilted. I put them on the table overnight. So now we're going to cut these into smaller sizes. So just cut them into the size that you prefer. So after that, we're gonna blanch them real quick. Okay, so what we need to do is take each of the leaves here and remove the damaged part if you see them. So basically I want to cut them into small pieces. These is how my family prefers them, like nice and small into these size right here. And the stems is actually my favorite part. I like the leaves okay. The leaves is better if you use it to cook afterwards. So just like that. And then so as you can see, there's really not a specific way you need to cut them. So just cut them in however you like. Some people just leave the whole thing in. Those are the leaves, and I usually separate these into 2 piles. Okay, next you need to boil a large pot of water. Bring it to a boil and let it cool a little bit. You see here, there's no more bubbles, but it's still very hot. And then we're going to put the mustard in there and blanch it a little bit. So the amount of mustard I have here is from 3 plants. So we're just gonna pour this in here. And let it sit for about 30 seconds, and then we're gonna take it out and put cold water in it. Okay, after 30 seconds, you pour it into a colander and rinse it off with nice and cold water. And then we are going to put this into a jar, and we're gonna make the brine next. Okay, to make the brine, you're going to need 6 cups of water and 1 tablespoon of salt. And then we're gonna bring this to a boil and then allow it to cool. Make sure you stir so that the salt can dissolve evenly within the brine. That is as simple as it can get, just water and salt. There's other ingredients that you can use like sugar, but in our family we don't use any sugar, and plus I don't know how to cook, so I prefer the simple method. So it's about to boil now, and then we're going to turn off the flame and then pour that onto a brine. But first we have to let this cool. Okay, we are in the last step. Make sure to sanitize your jar. It's best to use a glass jar. I don't have a glass jar right now because I used it for something else. So I'm using this plastic jar, but again, it's best to use a glass jar. Make sure you sanitize the jar before you put the mustard in. And then finally, I want to make sure that the brine covers all of the mustard greens. So I have this leaf right here that I cut as a big piece, and I'm gonna put it in like that at the top. And if you have skewer, you can use to kind of like hold it down. And since I don't have any, I have these to-go chopsticks, and it works the same way. So you put it over the top, and then you push that down like that. You see? So now it holds the mustard in place. So those chopstick comes in handy. And then you just use 2 of them. There you go. See, it holds it nicely sturdy down there. And then we're gonna wait for the brine and then pour it on top. Okay, our brine is cooled now, and so we're going to add it to our container. Okay, you want to make sure all of the mustard is submerged under the brine, and then close it up, and you can leave it at room temperature in your room somewhere, and that should be good in around 5 to 6 days. So we will check back soon. Okay, here is my mustard greens 3 days later. Look at that color. It changed from the green color to a more of a yellowish color. So that's how you can tell that the pickling fermentation is happening. You see, beautiful color. And here is a new batch I added yesterday. So as I mentioned, it's good to use a glass jar. I just bought the jar yesterday because I needed it. So yeah, use a glass jar. It's best for the pickling process. But yeah, 3 days and it's looking great. So we'll come back in a few days and maybe test it out. Okay, today the mustard is 7 days old and it's nice and fermented. I made 2 containers of this, but a friend came over and dropped off some stuff for me, so I gave him the other container. That's just too much anyway, so I won't be able to eat them all. So I shared it with my buddy, and I have this one left, which is still a lot. It's gonna last me for a long time. So here is what it looks like after 7 days. And we're going to open this up and take some out and give it a try. Okay, here it is. Let's open it up. And it's always a good idea to put a plastic thing here over the top. It keeps water from getting into the lid, also prevent it from rusting, but also keep it kind of sealed. Okay, so here is the greens. So let's take some out. Let's give it a smell real quick. Mmm. So it should have that nice mustard, spicy smell to it, somewhat, and also has a little bit of a pickle scent. And that's how you know that it's good. Okay, so we'll take some out here. I love this part, the stems part right here. The leaves are okay. The leaves, I usually leave them to make soups and stuff like that. And those are best. But the stems are nice and crunchy and juicy. And that's my favorite part. Okay, so let's give it a taste. Okay, so here is my fermented, pickled mustard. Wow, it smells so good. It has that mustard, pickly smell, kind of a little bit spicy. You know, if you smell mustard before, that's kind of like the scent that you get, except it's a little bit stronger with the pickling process that made it like that. So this jar is gonna last for a while, and the fermentation is still going to continue to happen. That means it's gonna get more sour over time. So if you want to stop the process or slow it down, just leave this in the refrigerator. So it'll slow down. It won't be super sour. So if you get it to the point that you really want it, and you don't want to get to any more sour than that, then leave it in the refrigerator. Okay, so here is my mustard greens. I love these things because they're so easy to make. Mmm. Kind of salty and sour, pickly flavor with the crunchy. You hardly taste the mustard anymore, except you have that mustard scent. Very nice as a side dish. You can also use these to make additional things like soup, cook them with meat, stir fry, saute, anything like that. And it's amazing. I can't believe how easy it is to make, and just water and salt and mustard, and it gives it that nice pickly, sour, fermented flavor. It's amazing. I mean, I don't know how that happens. Just salt and that's it. There's no vinegar or anything like that. Because usually when I make pickling stuff, you know, you add vinegar and all that stuff to kind of help enhance the sour flavor. But with this, all you need is water and salt, and that's it. So yeah, I hope you give it a try. I'm not the best at this. I'm just learning it from my parents, and of course, you know, I'm never gonna make it as good as they do. But I think it works for me, and it's super easy, which I really enjoy because I'm terrible at cooking or making anything. So I hope you enjoy the process and try it out for yourself. And if you happen to try, please let me know how you like it. And also, if you change up the recipes, it'd be great if you could share that with me as well. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.